What's up, y'all? Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you guys have the most excellent day today. So today we got something very special. I am joining you from the studio of South Wales' premier fursuit maker, Conifer Creations, who has agreed to do a quick interview with me about fursuit making over the last 20 years. Now, as you may know, Conifer made my fursuit for me way back in 2017, and they've been going from strength to strength ever since. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today, Conifer. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? You know, how long you've been making fursuits, and how you got into it in the first place?
So, I got shown a bunch of fursuits by my friend in school when I was about 13, 14, and we decided that we thought they were really cool and wanted to give it a try making it ourselves, and one thing led to another, and I made my first fursuit when I was about 13 or 14. So it's probably about 17 years in total this year.
And how difficult would you say it is to run a full-time business making fursuits?
There's a lot more involved in making a business work for fursuits, because there's just so much more to it than just making a fursuit for someone. There's a lot more things you need to consider, a lot of hidden expenses that you wouldn't think about. It's just there's a lot of work involved. It's hard. I won't lie, it is hard, but if you can manage it and keep on top of it and account for all these hidden expenses and little things that you didn't think about, it's good. It's manageable. It's easy. You just gotta. It's like anything: repetition. You know, it'll get easier. It'll get better with time. You just gotta ride through the storm, so to speak.
Are there any suits that you are particularly proud of? You know, ones that really, come to mind straight off when you think of suits that really shine?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm quite proud of all of my suits. I don't like to let a suit go that I wouldn't wear myself. Each suit is its own achievement for me. So it's really hard. I can't say what my proudest moment is. Maybe, I don't know. I'd say maybe this suit perhaps, but there's also Glyn here, who I've just finished. He's my first snarling werewolf character that I've ever done. So, I guess you could say it's that one. But who knows, the next commission, it'll probably be that one.
If you could give a budding fursuit maker any advice, what would it be?
Don't underestimate how difficult running a business is. It's not just a case of talking to a friend, taking a commission, doing the commission and getting it done. You've got to make sure that you keep an eye on things like your expenses, your incomings, your receipts. You've got to make sure that you behave professionally, and you've got to treat it like it's a job, not just a hobby. You got to be really strict with work hours. Like, you've got to have a good work ethic. Don't treat it like it's a hobby. Treat it like it's a job. So if you can, try and do 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You've got to put yourself in that sort of work mentality, because otherwise it's a slippery slope of taking commissions and struggling then to find the motivation to do them.
Now, if you could go back in time and tell 14-year-old you one thing, what would you tell them?
That's a hard one. There's a lot of things I would tell 14-year-old me, because I'm not infallible. I've made mistakes in the past. So if I had to tell 14-year-old me one thing about fursuit making, it would be don't give up. Stick to it, because it was hard, and it was really hard because I didn't really have much in the way of tools in the early days. And leave the chicken wire alone. Just leave it alone. What are you doing?
Now, the next question has been submitted by one of my viewers, Owen Johnson, who asks, why did you become interested in the furry fandom?
I always wanted to I always thought it'd be a really cool job to get, to be a mascot wearer, you know, for Disney. I always wanted to do the costume work there. Obviously, being realistic now, I realise that that's almost impossible to get into. You have to be exceptional, and I don't think I'm particularly special in any way. So, you know, Furry Fandom sort of ticks those boxes for me. I get to be that costumed character I always wanted to be. And the best part is, in the Furry Fandom, is you get to design it yourself.
Now, Tide Floof asks, what is the best age to get a fursuit?
Oh, that's a really good question, Tide. I mean, there's no right or wrong time to get a suit, but if you want my personal opinion, and this is purely my opinion, I would say between, at the earliest, I mean, I'm going to presume you want to know the earliest that you can get, that you should probably get a fursuit. I would say between 18 and 20, because that's more or less when you've stopped growing. If you get a suit earlier than that, you run the risk of outgrowing your suit, as you would clothes, you know, when you're a youngster. But there's no right or wrong time to get a suit. I mean, hell, you could get a partial as a youngster, you know, and maybe then later on when you're older get the bodysuit for it. But it's just something to bear in mind. If you want to get a suit young, just bear in mind you could outgrow it. And
Kame the Turtle asks, how do you determine the amount of fur that you need for a standard fur head?
For a head, well, for me, I think it's just been trial and error, really. I think when I was really young, back when I was a teenager, I couldn't afford to buy much fur anyway, so I would buy as little fur as possible to get me by, and yeah, if it wasn't enough, I would make ends meet. I'd figure it out, and so for me, it's just trial and error. I just winged it, and you know, it's been nearly 20 years, so it's kind of like ingrained in the back of my head.
Okay, and before we sign off, where can we find you? Do you have a website or anything?
I don't have a website yet, but I'm most active on my Facebook, which is Conifer's Creations. The Twitter, which is at CCDino Fursuits. And Instagram, which is Conifer's Creations on Instagram. Yeah, we really need to build our audience on Instagram. So if you are a grammer, I think that's what they're called, go check us out. We need to build up our audience on that, our followers. It's looking a little anemic.
So thanks very much for joining me today, Conifer. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me, Shrap. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to any future videos that we may or may not do.
Remember, folks, go check out all of our social medias. Don't forget to check out her Patreon as well. Support her in making the most excellent fursuits that she makes. Consider joining my Patreon while you're at it, and swing by my Discord, where we'll probably be having a good discussion about Conifer's Creations right this minute. But other than that, I hope you guys have a most excellent day, an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video, okay? Take care, ta-ra.